Something deeply disturbing is happening inside mainstream sports media, and this time, the people pushing the narrative may have finally gone too far. We are no longer watching an honest debate about basketball. We are no longer listening to analysts discuss shooting percentages, defensive coverages, or whether the Indiana Fever can contend for a championship. What we are witnessing is a coordinated pressure campaign demanding that Caitlin Clark accept responsibility for the behavior of complete strangers on the internet. And now, ESPN personality Elle Duncan has entered the conversation with a rant so reckless, so contradictory, and so disconnected from the documented facts that it exposes exactly why millions of basketball fans no longer trust mainstream sports coverage. To be completely accurate, Duncan did not directly look into the camera and use the words, "Caitlin Clark is racist." But the implication behind her argument was unmistakable. She suggested that Clark's response has not been strong enough, that her approach is not working, and that the Fever superstar still needs to publicly confront people who claim to support her while spreading hate. There is only one enormous problem with that accusation. Caitlin Clark has already done it, more than once. And when you see the timeline that Duncan either ignored or failed to mention, this entire rant begins to collapse.
Elle Duncan has lost her mind. This stuff is ridiculous. They keep trying to compare the Caitlin Clark situation and Emmett Till and all of this. This stuff is ridiculous, man. It is absolutely ridiculous and disgusting. Some of these people just want to push a nonsense.
This conversation has become so distorted that Caitlin Clark's name is now being dragged into arguments involving racism, political agendas, and even references to horrific moments in American history. Think about how absurd that is. Clark is a 24-year-old basketball player in her third WNBA season. She did not write the controversial columns. She did not create anonymous social media accounts. She did not send hateful messages to opposing players. She cannot control what millions of people say online, yet she is repeatedly treated as though she personally commands every person who has ever cheered for her. That is not accountability. That is guilt by association. The media creates a monster, attaches Caitlin Clark's name to it, and then demands that she defeat it on national television. If she does not respond immediately, they call her silent. If she condemns the behavior, they say her words were not strong enough. If she focuses on basketball, they accuse her of avoiding responsibility. And if she explains that the endless character attacks have become emotionally exhausting, they criticize her for describing what the experience has done to her. It is a game she can never win, because the goalposts move every time she reaches them. Elle Duncan said she would love for Clark to make it clear to people using her name that she does not want their behavior associated with her. On the surface, that might sound reasonable. No decent person wants racism, harassment, or threats anywhere near the game. But Duncan presented her demand as though Clark had never addressed the issue. That is where this crosses the line from commentary into something far more irresponsible.
For it to be for it to be very clear to the people who think they are her fans but are using her, if she would say, "Stop that shit, I don't want it. I'm tired of it."
She's already came out and denied.
Caitlin Clark addressed this exact issue in June of 2024. When she was asked about people using her name to promote racist or misogynistic agendas, she rejected it. She described that behavior as disappointing and unacceptable. She made it clear that the WNBA should be a place where every player receives respect. Then, in July of 2026, Clark spoke again after Alyssa Thomas became the target of harassment and hateful messages. Clark condemned the harassment. She rejected attacks on people's character. She said that hate was not acceptable and that basketball should never create that kind of behavior. So what exactly is Elle Duncan asking her to do now? Repeat the same statement every week? Record a public service announcement after every physical foul? Hold a press conference whenever an anonymous account sends an offensive message? At what point does the responsibility belong to the person committing the offense instead of a basketball player who has already condemned it? That is the part this conversation keeps avoiding. Individuals are responsible for their own actions. Caitlin Clark is responsible for Caitlin Clark. She can control her words, her behavior, and the way she treats other people. Based on the public evidence, she has consistently praised her teammates, respected her opponents, acknowledge the women who built the league and rejected racism and harassment. She cannot control strangers. No athlete can. Imagine applying this standard consistently across professional sports. Every time an NFL fan sends a disgusting message, should the quarterback be forced to apologize? When a soccer supporter starts a fight, should the team's biggest star be accused of silently encouraging violence? When a gambler threatens a player after losing a bet, should an unrelated athlete be dragged onto television and ordered to fix it? Of course not. But with Caitlin Clark, the normal rules apparently disappear. And the hypocrisy becomes even harder to ignore when we examine how quickly certain incidents are linked to her fan base before the facts are established.
Spoken out. She's already spoken out. You just want to drag her into things that don't even have anything to do with her. You never came out and talked about how the whole Chelsea Gray situation that had nothing to do with Caitlin Clark. You never said nothing about it. It was led on to be believed that
when Chelsea Gray received vile online messages, the behavior deserved immediate condemnation. There is no defense for threatening or harassing an athlete, but online discussion rapidly tried to connect the incident to Caitlin Clark and her supporters. Later reporting indicated that the person involved was an angry sports bettor reacting to a lost wager, not someone acting on Clark's behalf. That distinction matters. The offender should be blamed. The harassment should be condemned. Chelsea Gray should be supported. But using a serious incident as another opportunity to smear an unrelated player does not protect anyone. It simply replaces one form of toxicity with another. Where was the nationally televised correction? Where was the passionate monologue admitting that people had rushed to judgment? Where was the demand for media personalities to take accountability for repeating a connection that was not supported by the facts? That moment never arrived with the same force as the original accusation, and that is how these narratives survive. The accusation travels across social media at full speed. The correction arrives quietly after millions of people have already accepted the original story. This is not about denying that hateful individuals exist among Clark's enormous audience. Every massive fan base has toxic people inside it. The bigger the audience becomes, the more likely it is that dishonest, obsessive, or hateful individuals will try to attach themselves to the movement. Those people should be rejected clearly, but they are not the entire fan base. The overwhelming majority of Caitlin Clark supporters are basketball fans. They are parents taking their children to games. They are Iowa fans who followed her into the WNBA. They are young athletes studying her passing. They are longtime basketball viewers excited by a player who can change a game from 30 feet away. Treating all of them as a dangerous political movement is insulting and intellectually dishonest. Millions of people are not watching Clark because they secretly want a culture war. They are watching because she is extraordinary at basketball.
Seattle Storm owner, are you going to talk about that? No.
Just know that whatever's happening right now is not working. And I would love for Caitlin's team to go back to the drawing board and say, again, as much as we would love to live in a world where you get to just play basketball and be a great person and a great leader, and she's all of those things. As much as we would love for you to be.
Duncan argued that Clark's team may need to go back to the drawing board because the current approach is not working. But not working for whom? Clark has already delivered the necessary message. If bad people continue behaving badly after being condemned, that does not prove Clark secretly approves of them. It proves those individuals never cared what she thought in the first place. The idea that one more carefully scripted statement will suddenly eliminate racism and online harassment from social media is completely detached from reality. Clark could deliver the strongest condemnation imaginable tomorrow morning, and by tomorrow afternoon, somebody would demand another one. That is because this controversy is no longer driven by solutions. It is driven by engagement. Anger creates clips. Accusations create reactions. Conflict creates ratings. A thoughtful breakdown of Indiana's pick-and-roll offense might educate the audience, but an inflammatory segment questioning Clark's character will dominate social media before the show even ends. And that is the real tragedy. At the exact moment, women's basketball has earned one of the largest spotlights in its history. Too many media personalities are using that spotlight to manufacture personal drama instead of explaining the game. Caitlin Clark has helped bring enormous attention to the WNBA. Her arrival coincided with historic interest, larger television audiences, packed arenas, exploding merchandise sales, and a level of mainstream discussion that the league spent decades trying to achieve. She is not solely responsible for every improvement, and she did not build the league by herself. Generations of players created the foundation long before she arrived. Clark herself has repeatedly acknowledged that reality, but denying the scale of her impact would be just as dishonest. She brought a massive new audience with her, and instead of welcoming those viewers into the sport, portions of the media appear determined to lecture them, insult them, and convince them that enjoying Caitlin Clark automatically makes them suspicious. That is not how you grow a league. That is how you alienate the people who just discovered it.
When she's not playing well, all of a sudden, that's when y'all learn how to talk about basketball again. When she's playing well, y'all want to talk about, oh, she taunted a player. She got a technical foul. Her and Stephanie White. Oh, she's racist. Oh, her fan said this on Twitter. Caitlin Clark is focused on basketball. She's balling. You guys aren't focused on it because you don't want to be. This is what you want to focus on, Elle Duncan.
That, like, despite her load management, she's playing so well. Like, how do we get back to Aaliyah Boston shooting?
While the talking heads debate what Caitlin Clark should say for the third or fourth time, she is producing one of the most spectacular stretches of her professional career. Clark recently delivered a franchise record 45 points and 10 assists against the Seattle Storm, becoming the first player in WNBA history to record at least 40 points and 10 assists in the same game. She accomplished it in fewer than 30 minutes. She followed that historic performance by helping Indiana continue its surge, including another brilliant 32-point, 10-assist performance against Seattle. Across 4 games, she averaged more than 30 points while the Fever kept winning. Those are the conversations sports shows should be having. How does a defense guard a player who can pull up several feet behind the three-point line, but also punish aggressive coverage with elite passing? If the defender goes under the screen, Clark shoots. If the big defender steps higher, she threads the ball into the pocket. If the weak side defender rotates toward Aaliyah Boston, Clark fires a pass to the corner. If the defense traps her, she gets rid of the ball early and turns the possession into a 4-on-3 advantage. That is why her impact cannot be measured only by her personal scoring total. Her shooting range stretches the defense beyond its normal structure. Her passing forces opponents to guard every inch of the floor. Her presence creates cleaner opportunities for Kelsey Mitchell, Aaliyah Boston, and every player sharing the court with her. Clark and Boston are developing one of the league's most dangerous partnerships. When Boston rolls toward the rim, Clark can find her through windows that most guards do not even see. When Boston steps outside, the paint opens. When the defense collapses, Indiana's shooters receive cleaner looks. This is high-level basketball, and it deserves high-level analysis. Instead, too much airtime is spent demanding that Clark solve the internet, and notice the contradiction. Duncan says she wants Caitlin Clark to be free to focus on basketball, but segments like this guarantee that Clark will be asked about everything except basketball. Every accusation produces another press conference question. Every monologue creates another news cycle. Every demand for a response becomes the justification for demanding an additional response. You cannot claim to want the player protected from the circus while actively extending the circus. You cannot demand that the conversation return to basketball while turning Clark's character into the day's biggest debate. And you cannot accuse her of remaining silent without showing the audience the statements she already made.
Brain dead commentary. Now take a look at this right here. Elle Duncan, July 2026. Caitlin needs to say, stop that shit, I don't want it. Caitlin Clark in June of 2024. People should not be using my name to push those agendas. It's disappointing. It's not acceptable. In July 2026, the harassment, the hate, none of that is acceptable. She said more than enough. And this isn't even included when she came and spoke up for black people.
This is the moment that destroys the entire narrative. June 2024. Caitlin Clark rejects people using her name to promote racism and misogyny. July 2026. Caitlin Clark condemns harassment, hate, and attacks on another player's character. Those are the receipts. Those are the facts. Anyone is free to believe Clark should speak more frequently or use different language. That is an opinion. but saying or implying that she refuses to speak is contradicted by the public record. And there is a deeper issue here that sports media needs to confront. When commentators repeatedly suggest that an athlete may be sympathetic to racism despite her explicit condemnations, they are not merely criticizing her media strategy. They are placing a stain on her character that may follow her for the rest of her career. That is a serious accusation even when delivered through implication. If you are going to push an argument that's damaging, you have a responsibility to present the full timeline. You have to acknowledge what Clark has already said. You have to separate her actual supporters from people opportunistically using her name. And you have to explain what realistic action she could take that she has not already taken. Duncan's comments did not provide a convincing answer to that question. Instead, Clark was handed an impossible assignment: control millions of strangers, eliminate online hatred, answer every controversial column, protect every player from harassment, satisfy every political faction, and somehow win basketball games while carrying the weight of the entire league. No athlete could meet that standard. Not LeBron James, not Michael Jordan, not Serena Williams, not Caitlin Clark. And perhaps that impossible standard is the point. As long as the demand remains vague, Clark can always be accused of falling short. Do more sounds powerful on television precisely because nobody defines where more ends. Caitlin Clark is not above criticism. If she plays poorly, analyze it. If she turns the ball over, discuss it. If she receives a technical foul, show the sequence. If she makes a public statement that deserves scrutiny, challenge the words she actually used. But criticism must be based on something she did, not on the behavior of strangers she cannot control. There is a difference between accountability and scapegoating. Accountability connects a person to their own choices. Scapegoating forces one person to carry the guilt of an entire group. Right now, Caitlin Clark is being treated as a symbol first and a human being second. Everyone wants to use her. Networks use her face for ratings. Commentators use her name for viral clips. Political groups use her popularity to support their arguments. Critics use anonymous trolls to question her character. Then those same people accuse Clark of failing to stop others from using her. That is the most revealing contradiction of all. Clark did not ask to become the center of a cultural battle. She asked to play basketball. She worked for years to develop a level of shooting and playmaking that changed the women's game. She entered the WNBA, faced physical defense, enormous expectations, injuries, criticism, and non-stop scrutiny, and she continued competing. The real Caitlin Clark story is unfolding on the court. It is in the 45-point explosion. It is in the impossible passes. It is in the connection with Aaliyah Boston. It is in the sold-out arenas and the children wearing number 22. It is in the defensive game plans built entirely around stopping her and the moments when those plans still fail. That is the story millions of fans came to see. Elle Duncan has every right to criticize Caitlin Clark, but fans have every right to examine that criticism, compare it with the evidence, and call out an argument that ignores documented reality. Clark already condemned racism. She already condemned harassment. She already supported the players targeted by hate. The question is no longer whether Caitlin Clark has said enough. The real question is whether anything she says will ever be enough for a media industry that profits every time her name becomes a controversy. Because if two public condemnations can be treated as silence, this was never about finding the right words. It was about preserving a narrative. And that narrative is beginning to fall apart. The fans can see the double standard. They can see the moving goalposts. They can see the difference between genuine concern and manufactured outrage. Most importantly, they can see what Caitlin Clark is doing every time she steps onto the floor. The noise will eventually disappear. The viral rants will be replaced by another controversy. The people using her name for engagement will move toward their next target. But the records will remain, the victories will remain, the impact on women's basketball will remain. And the generation of young players who discovered the game because of Caitlin Clark will remember what she actually did, not what television personalities tried to imply about her. So let us stop pretending that a 24-year-old athlete is responsible for fixing every broken corner of the internet. Let us hold hateful individuals responsible for their own behavior. Let us demand the same accuracy and accountability from media personalities that they demand from players. And then, finally, let Caitlin Clark do the one thing she has been asking to do from the beginning. let her play basketball. Because after everything we have seen, one uncomfortable question remains. Is mainstream sports media genuinely trying to protect the WNBA, or is it pushing away the millions of fans who could help transform the league forever?